one at a time as they come up. Mr. Lanny Thomas, he's running for the 53rd District against State Senator Mullis. Mr. Mike Pearden, he's running for County Commissioner against Commissioner Beatty High School. Mr. Perry Lamb, who's running for a County Commissioner, and Mr. Shannon Whitfield. We did at 6:30, we did pick names out of the hat. It was a UT hat, so that was the best part. And the rotation of order is Mr. Lanny Thomas, Mr. Mike Pearden, Mr. Perry Lamb, and Mr. Shannon Whitfield, in that order. That's 7 o'clock, so let's start. All right. Mr. Lamb, would you please introduce yourself? I'm sorry, Mr. Lane Thomas, would you please introduce yourself and tell the folks about you and what you're about?
Good evening. Is this working good?
Are we good?
Good. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name's Lanny Thomas. I'm running for Senate, 53rd District. I'm running against Jeff Mullis. And I've lived in the 53rd District my entire life. I've lived originally from Lafayette, Georgia. But before I moved to Lafayette, I lived in Rawson. And then after graduating from Lafayette High School, I went to West Georgia College, got my Bachelor of Science degree in education, and then went to work at Chattooga County. And I've lived there ever since. Married my wife, Chris Ann Thomas. We've been married for almost 30 years. We have 4 children, 4 boys, and I've got a couple of them here with me tonight. And I guess we could say 5. I've got another one over there, Casey. He's considered part of one of mine as well. But they're here tonight with me, and I do seek your support in my endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane. Mr. Mike Pearden.
My name is Mike Pearden. I'm running for sole commissioner of Walker County against fine candidate Shannon Whitfield. I've been here for 34 years in this county. I'm 46 years old. I went to Chattanooga Valley High School. From there, I went into the military, served in Desert Storm. Come out of the military, worked in several mills around the area, worked a couple of jobs, seen that it wasn't getting anywhere. Started doing repair work, handyman work. From there, I went to Chattanooga State to get my electrical license. From there, I got a builder's license, a soil erosion license, pretty much self-educated through some of those things. The county did help me get my license, other than Chattanooga State, but I've worked hard all my life. I've invested in Walker County in the time I've been here, buying houses, fixing houses, developing properties, making tangible tax income for the county, and what I've done, what I've refurbished. I have a heart to see our county changed. I'm disappointed with our county. I'm disappointed with a lot of aspects of the county, the debt, the loss of our hospital, mismanagement of funds. The list can go on. But I have a desire to see change in our county. I think I could use what I know on a small basis to use in a big area of Walker County to make it better. And I would like for you to consider my vote as commissioner on May the 24th.
Mr. Perry Lamb.
First, I want to thank Mr. Clanton for hosting this event tonight for this year's candidates for County Commissioner. Most importantly, I want to thank the voters for coming out tonight to hear the differences in how each of us will approach the issues that are important to us in this county. For too long, the people in this county have had no voice in the direction of the place that we live. We as citizens have been forced to just accept candidates that have been put on the ballot. Very few people anymore want to even try to get into politics. Unfortunately, most of us in this county don't have the money to get into politics. However, there's thousands and thousands of dollars that are given each election to the right candidate within the county. I stepped into this race because I'm sick of the way the elections have continued around or in this county, election after election. Doing the same thing in this county is getting us the same result over and over again. The bottom line is this county cannot spend any more money on projects or property that have zero effect on our revenue. And I'm not going to sit here and throw out a bunch of numbers for one simple reason. The most important thing that I learned in college was this: everything needs to be researched and investigated to the fullest extent before you're going to find a proper way or the proper way to make a solution or find a solution. Every number that we have right now in black and white has been given to us by the current administration. I don't think it's wise to use these numbers as an absolute truth. If elected, the first thing I'm going to do in office is do a full or have a full forensic audit done of books and of the county departments. Only then can I responsibly figure out a way to start trying to pay our debt. We, however, can start saving money saving money to use to pay our debt down. The way this will be done is with proper management. I've worked in management for years, both with the City of Tampa Water Department and also Erlanger Health System. I am now a surgical assistant with Erlanger. I will personally work with every department to find the ways to have that department run the most efficient, to save the most amount of money for the citizens of this county, and use that money to pay down the debt. Anyone who's worked in government knows the waste and the redundancy in all government. In this county for too long, nobody's been held accountable for wasted money. I intend to manage this county the way a manager should manage. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitfield?
Yes. Hey, good evening. My name's Shannon Whitfield. I want to thank each of y'all for coming out tonight. I know there's a lot of other places that you could be, but it's really encouraging to see this number of people that's willing to come out and learn more about your county and take part. I wish there was more people with your mindset. But again, I want to let you know that I'm 46 years old. My wife Dana's here with me tonight. We've been married for 23 years, and we have 2 daughters. Our oldest daughter is Erica. She's a business student down at the University of Georgia. We have our second daughter who's 15. She's a sophomore at Gordon Lee High School and is into competitive dancing and travels around and dances very competitively. About, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago, God placed a little boy in our life, little Daniel. He's 4 years old, and he has been a blessing, and we have full custody of him, and he's become a part of our family. And we have taken him in and love him and nurture him on a daily basis. But our county's got some big problems, and that's the main reason why I'm running, is to bring solutions to these problems, but also, first of all, identify these problems. And so I feel like that my business experience from an executive standpoint will prepare me to take on these challenges. Our county is very diverse in its operations, and there's a lot of employees, and there's a lot of issues at hand that have to be addressed. And I feel like I've got the ability to tackle these challenges, or I'd have never entered this race. My family's 100% behind me. I said for 15 months I wasn't going to do this, and the good Lord changed my heart and my mind, and said that He did want me to do this, and so that's why I've entered this race. So again, appreciate you all for coming out tonight. Look forward to getting this going. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Lanny, you're first. What do you plan to do as a newly elected state senator to help Walker County get higher paying jobs so that 72% of our kids aren't on reduced or free lunches?
All right. Can everyone hear me this? I think the last time,
Here,
my mic is not.
use that.
Great, thank you. Wonderful question. One thing I would like to do is find a professional that could come in here and help us to find and develop new jobs, new industry, work for people with have their small family incomes, small family businesses, to where we can start a better financial infrastructure here in Walker County. Now, your question, again, I couldn't throw it to me one more time.
What do you plan to do as a newly elected state senator to help Walker County get higher paying jobs so that 72% of our kids aren't on free or reduced lunches?
Again, we've got to find a way to bring in, we've lost a lot of industry in Walker County. We don't seem to be able to find new industry coming in to Walker County. We have some deficiencies, possibly with infrastructure, with management, waste management. But to find a professional that can come in here and identify some of those weaknesses and areas to where we can address those. And also, I would like to work closely with the elected officials, those that take the leadership roles, find out what they need, because surely they have their thumb on the pulse of the community in Walker County. They understand what the county needs, and then I can take those needs to the state.
Question number 2. What legislation do you plan to do to introduce to help raise graduation rates and make the Walker County schools better than they are? Because graduation rates are really low here. What are you willing to do for the school system here in North Georgia?
One thing I would like to do is introduce legislation that would have a greater impact on parental involvement in our schools. I feel that parental involvement is lacking in our school systems. We need parental involvement to be able to make them understand the importance of education as well.
Do you see the 53rd District as a tourist destination? If so, how do you plan to promote it in a way to bring tourism dollars into the counties you will serve as a state senator?
It is definitely a tourist situation here. You have where the Civil War has been, it's just phenomenal through here, Chickamauga Park. You have historical sites in Lafayette and Ringgold and Dade County, so there are a lot of historical areas, and we can attract tourism through those sites, through the trails that we have through our various counties.
One more here. You are one vote in Atlanta. You're one voice. Do you have plans or bills that could affect the 53rd District in a positive way?
Well, to be frankly honest, I don't have those plans right now in those areas, but I do have one vote, I do have one voice to represent this area, and that's one reason I'm running, because I felt like our area here on the 53rd has not been represented.
Mr. Jett, do you have a question?
Sure.
Right here. Oh, here, Mr. Jett, right here, that now. I'm sorry. I thought I told you. It's going to be for you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Hey, Laney, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. You mentioned earlier that you think a key to improving education in Walker County and in Georgia in general is to pass some legislation to get more parental involvement. How specifically do you legislate parental involvement?
Well, one thing you can do, and I don't think it's one thing you can do in legislating that, I guess, would be to have a parent, some parents that are involved in the decision making. They could assist with the Board of Education's and decision making for the systems.
Okay, and your political career has basically been in the town of Tryon, which, with all due respect, is a very small town. what have you done since deciding to become the state senator to prepare yourself for what is essentially a game of three-dimensional chess in the legislature?
All right, I've been around talking to some of the leaders in the area. I've spoken with some of the Republican leadership to find out what was needed, what they would like to have done if I was elected as senator.
Are there any media else that want to ask? Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to ask Mr. Thomas here a question? Please.
Good evening, Lanny.
Hey there, man.
For those of y'all that don't know, my name is Matt Williamson, and I'm the Republican Party chairman. And most of my questions to all of the candidates tonight will be something that has to do with the Republican Party, since that's the role that I care about here. And so my question to you, Lanny, is, since you're running against our sitting state senator, how are any of your positions or anything that you would do if you were elected our state senator different from that of your opponent?
Well, I've looked at his voting record, and I tell you here lately, you know that it is an election process, so he has voted along party lines. So I don't think I would have had any different vote from what he voted for here recently. I think the main differentiation between myself and Senator Mullis would be the connection that I would have with the various counties that are in the 53rd District. I would meet, since I have been a mayor for a small town, and I have been a city council, this district is contained of a lot of small towns in the area. And I would be able to work closely with them, find out what they need, and support them. And sometimes a town or municipality will not have the financial means to get something that they need accomplished. They don't have the resources, because I've been there and understand that. And then I would be there for them.
Does anybody else in the audience want to ask a question? If you're free, vote. Come on now. Y'all are voters. This is important. Come on. Just raise your hand and get up in front of the mic. If somebody else wants to, get behind him.
My name is Jim Pope, and I'm a long-term resident of this county, so I'm very interested in it. But my question to Lanny is, there's recently been a bill passed in the legislature that would protect pastors from lawsuits for refusing to marry gay couples. Now, the governor is it's getting controversial, this bill is, and it remains to be seen if he's going to sign it. If he wanted your recommendation on whether it should be signed or not, what would you tell him?
Well, I would tell him that I don't think the pastors would be sued to start with. I think that if a gay couple went to a pastor and asked that pastor to marry them, and that pastor refused to, based on his religious beliefs, then that gay couple would not have anything to stand on as far as laying a suit on that pastor. That pastor is already protected from what we have on our United States and our Georgia legislature. Yes, sir, Mr. Stucker.
What kind of job do you think the Republican leadership has done in the State House, including Governor Nathan Deal?
I think that the Republicans have done a good job. I'm not here to say that they haven't done a good job. Could we do a better job? Yes, I think we can. I think we can do a better job. And myself, as being a retired educator, I think we can do a better job as far as education. I think that our state of Georgia has a grade right now of a C- and on education. And we fall below the median and the mean in education. We have a long way to go with education. As far as taxes go, we're in the middle there as well. I think we're ranked 23rd as far as taxing our citizens. So that's the way I feel as far as how the Republican Party has done thus far.
Are there any other questions from the audience? This is your opportunity. Mr. Jett, do you have any more before I go? Okay. Next in line is Mike Pearden. He is running for county commissioner. Yes. Go ahead.
I do appreciate these questions, and if I seem a little bit uncertain on some of the answers, please understand this. This is my rookie year, all right? I'm just starting this process. And the reason I'm doing it is because I have a passion for this community, and I want this community represented. And that's why I'm sitting up here facing these tough questions. And that's why you see me up here. It would be easy to stay veiled and hid somewhere else and not come to you and answer the questions that you have presented to me. And, you know, maybe some of these answers I'm not fully prepared to answer, but hey, I'm a quick learner. And if elected, and I do get to go to Atlanta and represent you, I will be a fast learner. I will represent you, and I will bring you solid answers in the future.
Mr. Perry, what would you do to get a balanced budget every year in Walker County?
Well, first of all, we need a line budget for departments, just like any organization that's run. Our departments don't have line budgets as they need. They are taking money from different areas. Can y'all hear me? They're taking money from different areas and putting it wherever they want to. So I think line budget would be the key in different areas of our government for accountability. Anytime you can take SPLOST money and spend it however you want to, and say that you're really not sure where the money went, as commented on January 6th in the Walker County Messenger from one of our leading officials, then that tells me our government doesn't know where our money is. They have no accountability. So, to answer your question, we would have to have budgeting in those departments, accountability for each department, without the ability to move back and forth and be non-transparent about and being able to say, we're just not sure where the money went. That's not an answer for me.
With Volkswagen bringing another model to Chattanooga, what would you do as sole commissioner to bring some of those supplier jobs to Walker County and increase the wealth for this county?
I would do everything possible to open the door for industry into our county. We do have the railroad moving now. That's going to benefit this county. Anytime we can get industry into our county, as long as it's not in the rural protected areas of our county, we have areas of the county such as Pigeon Mountain that outdoorsmen enjoy, cavers, bikers, horseback riders, deer hunters. We have the cove that needs to be preserved, but outside of that, if we can get industry in here and preserve some of those areas, kind of like Teddy Roosevelt had a vision for holding on to properties and keeping it for our enjoyment, and that is one of our greatest natural resources that we have is the cove and Pigeon Mountain. With that in mind, I would open the door as best I could. I don't agree with a lot of the tax deferred and the businesses getting away scot-free to come in. And I don't agree with using taxpayers' money of millions of dollars to bring them in. They've got to at least come to the table and give us something. The last business deal one of the last that we encountered upon, $12 million here at Audi, I don't feel like Walker County will ever recoup that money. 160 jobs. Who won here? Walker County didn't win. I'd love to see them come in, but I won't pay their way.
Do you think the citizens of Walker County need to know how every dollar is spent in every department?
Transparency is always important in government. This government belongs to everybody sitting here. This government does not belong to a few people that are sitting at the office. The problem being is people have not stood up. It's a republic. It's a republic. It's a republic. Y'all are the government. We are the government. The voice of the government is sitting here, the people. So we have to be transparent for you to know the truth. If you don't know the truth, then you're hearing lies. If you're hearing lies, you got the wrong candidate. You got the wrong person working for you.
One more. Do you think that Walker County's current status, that raising property taxes would be a necessity in the future.
I would not want to impose taxes on the elderly or the new people coming into this county. They can't afford it. What I feel like needs to be done, the county owns 474 properties. Why do they own these properties? This land is our land. This land is your land. This land belongs to you and me. This land don't belong to the government. So I propose to sell these properties that are not needed for this government and put towards that debt. A tax hike in this county would be devastating to the poor of this county. And the rich of this county have benefited from this county way too long. There's people in this county not paying their fair share. And I will do an audit on the tax records, property records, and I will bring them all to justice.
Mr. Jett? 2 questions.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. On your campaign website, one of your first bullet points for how to improve the county is to cut unnecessary spending. Can you give us 3 examples of specific areas where the county is spending money that it just needs to cut it?
Sure. There's a spending in the county, and then there's a spending in the county. And for those that here that have lived here long enough, you know there's spending going on that are not on the books. There's people using equipment on personal properties. That's spending. Now, if you're looking for something on the books, I'm telling you about what's going on the outside of that. Multitasking is one. If you got folks that I don't see where our county employees have to lose their jobs for what our county has done to us and suffer that. But however, if somebody was to lose their job, another person could fill the shoes of that job. You could pay them a couple of dollars an hour versus another person making $10. So if you got 2 people, they make $10 an hour. Give this one 12 if they're willing to move forward and take that and multitask. That's one way of saving. But the other way, like I said, I know of areas where benefits are being handed to certain ones, and I would see they would stop and desist from what they're doing there. And you asked for 3, is that correct?
Yes.
The interest that we pay on these loans is astronomical. The one loan for $10 million from Rosemar in New York, it cost our county $300,000 in 9 months. We have to try to form a way to get these consolidated, get our debt-to-income ratio looking a little better. When I do loans for myself, the last loan I did was $350,000 loan, but I made stipulations on that loan. Banks are willing to work outside the box on areas where you can create a loan that will help you in the future, where you can, if you sell a property and you pay $100,000 to a $350,000 loan, you have a $250,000 principal. But you can structure loans up front to save money, that whereas that loan could be, the debt-to-income ratio of the payment would be made less when you make that $100,000 payment. So in that area there, you could save money. Now, there are other areas that are along the lines of this. There are ways of making payments weekly instead of monthly. You can take the same principal payment, and you can do this on your home mortgage. If you pay that, say you owe $1,000 on a mortgage, instead of paying $1,000 in 30 days, pay $250 a week and see how many years it takes off your mortgage. There are structured ways that we can get into the financing. We're in debt, from what I can tell, $65 million. So it's going to take some tactfulness to save money in every area that we can, even down to the lights, even down to the water heaters and all the facilities, every way that we can go to a survival mode in this county to save money so we don't have to raise taxes.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier that there are some people who are getting unfair or inappropriate benefits. Who's getting these benefits, and what are these benefits that you're talking about?
We're talking about using county equipment for personal gain. And to name those people, I won't name those people. I refuse to name the people, but I will put a stop and desist on that situation. Another area is the vehicles. They're not putting placards on the vehicles. They got county tags on these vehicles. They can drive these tags to Florida if they want to, these cars. There's no accountability. It's wasteful spending, fuel, wear and tear on our vehicles. But as far as naming the ones, I won't name.
Well, in terms of accountability, if you were elected, how would we hold you accountable for that if we don't know specifically where the waste is?
How will you hold me accountable for
cutting off these benefits if we don't know where these benefits lie?
I don't know that I'd call them benefits. I mean, they're their benefits, yes, but, I mean, I think I gave you 4 good answers. That was just one, that was an easy one, I mean, outside of what you're asking. How will you know? You know, there's a lot of complications when you start naming names and when you start pulling people out. It's not my interest to get people convicted in this county. It's for my interest for them to stop doing the fraudulent things that they're doing. But to name them is not my interest to do that.
Thank you, Tyler. If you have questions in the audience, this is your time to talk to Mr. Pearden.
I just wanted to ask a question for all the candidates, if they know the accounting term sinking fund and amortization, and would y'all be willing to call for a criminal investigation if you're elected, run illegal practices?
So all candidates, is that me?
That would be to Mr. I'm sorry. The questions for Mr. Pearden, where you only get one at a time. So, but the question can be addressed as soon as each one comes up. Okay, go ahead and address it.
I think I've already answered that pretty
Okay.
well. I mean, I'll reiterate, but yeah, I am familiar with the terms. But like I said, it's not my goal to put any more tax burden on the people to convict the people of this county. I believe God will deal with them accordingly. We're facing enough legal fees with a hospital. I think, you know, on these situations, a lot of people are getting rich sitting by just going through legal fees to protect a dead issue. So to open up another can of worms, and unless the GBI would do it freely, but I believe, don't quote me, but I think Senator Mullis or Sheriff Wilson would be the only one that could officially make that call to bring in the GBI. But as far as putting the burden on the taxpayer, I don't, you know, if we can just stop what's been going on and change our direction, we're going to save some money.
Thank you. Next up is Perry Lamb. I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening, Mike. It's good to see you.
Hello, Matt.
My question is, I've actually got 2 questions as nobody else is going to get behind me, but my first question is, after the Republican primary, if you become the Republican nominee, you'll face off against Mr. Lamb and our sitting commissioner, Ms. Highschool. Earlier this week, Ms. Highschool spoke before a One Walker County luncheon and gave her State of the County address. Her remarks were truncated, but she issued an extended statement today, or sometime this week, wherein she said that she had raised $3.5 million of non-taxpayer money to fund Mountain Cove Farms, which is something that a lot of her critics use to criticize her. If you're facing her in a general election, how would you address her her reasoning, or how would you address the way that she has gone about stating that she's taking care of funding at Mountain Cove Farms?
Well, that would depend on the question we're debating about the farm. You know, the county should not live at a higher standard than the taxpayer that supports it. You know, if I can't afford a new truck, I don't go out and buy it if I can't make the payments. You can get a good deal on a good new truck, but why go buy a new truck if you can't afford it? You know, the argument for me on that situation is we're too far in debt to go any further. If you say that you're conservative, why do you keep spending money? Even if the money was funded at $3.5 million, money was spent hand over fist down there for those cabins. The water, some of that was granted in, I understand, but the maintenance on the property, and the biggest thing is it doesn't reflect the voice of the community. We're forgetting the voice of the particular area. And the voice is important in every area different. Mountain Cove Farms is different than Rossville. Villanelle is different. We need representatives from each area that can see their vision. And the Mountain Cove went past the people's vision. It went for what the government's vision was, but not the vision of the people. So to debate that, the biggest thing I could tell her was, hey, we was broke when you bought it.
If you have a question, please stand up.
I eventually want to ask all commissioner candidates this question, but since we're doing it one at a time, I'll direct it to Mike. The issue of the type of commissioner we're going to have in Walker County has become a big issue. Is it going to be a sole commissioner or a board of commissioners? Now, I understand you would not have the authority to change it yourself, but as a commissioner, you would have a lot of influence on which way it went. If you were commissioner, would you support the sole commissioner concept or a board of commissioners? And there's maybe several types of board commissioners. Which type of board commission would you like to advocate for?
Well, I've been advised not to state this in any campaign standing for or against. I've been advised to be neutral, but I feel strongly about this matter in the fact of the same way as gun control or anything else that, you know, we stand for. I feel like it's a question that demands an answer. Our county too long has been self-serving with no accountability whatsoever. Legislative power, executive power in the same hand. That's a day of the past. The state of Georgia, there's 159 counties. There's only 6 counties that have a sole commissioner. In the United States, there's only one state that still has a sole commissioner. That's Georgia. To me, it's close to Dukes of Hazzard, boss hog government as you can get. You can do and say and spend all that you want to, anytime you want to, with no checks and balances. It's taxation without representation. When they spend all this big amount of money, these millions of dollars, we get it back, we pay for it when we get our tax bill. I know there's complications that are involved with a multi-board commission. I know it slows down the process. But a democracy is people talking about their problems, not one person solving them. So yes, I support a multi-board commission. I would be open to different forms, particularly 5-board commission, 1 from each populated area. We'd have to go by population, I guess, to be fair. Villanelle's unpopulated, that they wouldn't have as big of, I know you're from Villanelle, probably doesn't sit well, but Rossville, Lookout Mountain, you'd have to go with a populated ones to have a spokesperson for each seat on the commission. With a county manager that has no vote, cannot spend money as they please, cannot do anything other than what the board tells them to do. Yes, it's going to slow down things in our county, but I'm not in a hurry to spend any more money.
Go ahead.
Like Mr. Pope, this next question is also going to be addressed to you two gentlemen, but since we're with Mike, I'll address it to you. Can you tell Republican voters in Walker County why we should pick you as opposed to your opponent to be our nominee for sole commissioner?
Sure. I think Shannon Whitfield is a fine candidate. I think he's a fine businessman. I'll start right there. I think we should be proud to have Whitfield oil in our county. Would I buy from Whitfield oil? You better believe it. If the price was competitive, I would buy from Whitfield oil. But as a candidate, I have done in this county what I have done from the time that I've been able to pick up a hammer has made this county look better. It's made every project I've touched tangible tax. I just built a $350,000 home. I built a lake in front of it. Guess what the county's going to do when they come out next year? They're going to get some tax money. And don't be listening in case you're the commissioner. But anyway, what I have done, I will continue to do for the county. Development. We cannot any longer turn our back on growth. We have to be pro-growth in Walker County. The Lord is not making any more real estate, but babies are coming out every day. We need architectural plans. We have structural problems on our roads that are permitting us from having industry come in. If you go down 27 Highway, these areas drop down. I have experience in that. I have equipment. I've done this. I did hold 5 state licenses in February. One of them did expire because I've been campaigning. But all these are in development, and I can use that as a stepping stone to step forward for our county to help build this county. Many hands make light work. Folks, we got some work to do. 65, numbers, somebody, 80, $90 million. We got some work to do. We got to pay this back. So we need to help the county develop, but develop in the right way by protecting those precious natural resources we have. With the zoning, we can help in those areas with the zoning. I know zones. I've worked building and putting together projects all my life. I can help in the zoning area, which is where I feel that we will profit in the biggest part of this venture. We have people that can't even use their property. All right? They are zoned to a certain zone, and then Walker County has a 5-acre agriculture. Catoosa County has a 3. Of course, they're going to have more growth. Their property's worth more. And for you as a property owner, if you have more uses for your property, you put money in your pocket. I've created a resource for you. So I will address those zoning laws, and I will address architectural areas that we can drop down to 1 acre or 2 acres and put value in your pocket. Puts people to work. Puts taxpayers here. Many hands make light work.
Is there any other questions? Good questions. Next up is Perry Lamb. Mr. Lamb, would you keep the EMS service privatized right now as sole commissioner, or would you return it to the county operation and have them run the EMS service?
It was a big mistake in the first place to let it go the way it did. We sold it for $1 million and turned around and we leased for $250,000 a year. We just basically gave them equipment. The EMS makes money on a transport, but you also have to sit down and look at how much money was the ambulance service bringing in versus how much was the ambulance service paying out because of the maintenance, the crews, the insurance for the crews. Unfortunately, the way it is when it's private, we lose some of the, I think, connection that they have with the fire departments. Usually when a fire truck goes out, the ambulance goes out. If they're together, they go out together. I'm not skirting the issue. Does it can make money, and if it's making money, then it should be within the county. If it is costing the county money, then it needs to be privatized. The county is not in the business to be in business. The county is in, the commissioner needs to make sure that every dollar that is spent wisely. If we're not making money on a service, then we give it to a private company. It's been shown over and over that private companies are going to make more money in a smarter way than government ever will. And I don't care who's sitting in the commissioner's seat. They're not getting smarter than a huge company out there that makes millions and millions of dollars. But I like having a service personally, but it's got to make money and not cost the taxpayers more.
Question number 2. Can Walker County's fire service continue to be a paid fire department, or would it be better to go back to a volunteer, combo volunteer service like it was years ago?
You know, I have personally talked to firemen. I'm not a fireman, so I go to a fireman. They're the ones that know what's going on. The system that we have here in the county is mainly stationed. We do have some volunteers that will show. They wind up getting treated not with as much respect as they should as a firefighter. But bringing in volunteers is not just saying, hey, I want you or I want you to be a volunteer fireman. You've got 120 hours a year that you have got to keep certified every year. Now, you're going to have to ask a businessman or someone running their own business to give up 120 hours a year to go get their certification so they can be a volunteer fireman. I like volunteer firemen. I was a volunteer. I was on Hamilton County Star, Search and Rescue. That was not the only thing I did. With volunteer firemen are going to help out in the community because that is how they're built. That's how they're structured, to help people with very little in return. But it can't, again, it can't be at the expense of losing our fire rating. Our fire rating, insurance rating is bad enough as it is, and that in itself is costing this county on every piece of property that we owe or own paying insurance. Your fire insurance, your homeowners, is costing you because of our insurance rating, because of the lack of service that we got. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. It needs to be looked at hard because y'all are paying for it. And the reason y'all are paying is because our fire service is not where it needs to be. That being said, to try to bring this county up to a full-time fire department, firemen at every station, around the clock, from what I have come up with so far, it's going to be about 50 firemen that it would take to put 2 firemen at each station and then have volunteers in. So it's not as simple as, you know, we want a volunteer or we want a station, full-time station. It's something that has to be looked at and examined and talk to the fire department and talk to the citizens of this county and say, do y'all want to pay a little bit more? Do y'all want to pay a little bit less? It's y'all's decision. It is the voters of this county that need to make the decisions on what they want.
If elected sole commissioner, how long would it take to get Walker County back to making revenue, in your opinion?
If we are in debt, I've heard numbers from 40 million, 60 million, 65 million, 100 million. I wish I could sit down and look at the books and know exactly how much we're in debt. If we are 70 million in debt and we have 22 million coming in revenue and we want to keep our services, how much are we going to be able to pay on that debt? What I will do is I will work with every department in this county. That's what I do. I manage. I research, I manage, I talk, I communicate. I believe that you can find 10% waste right off the bat. That's $2.2 million. But that's all you're going to, that's only with 10% savings. Okay, let's try to find 20% savings. Now, granted, we gotta do this without losing our services. We have roads that are in disrepair now that need to be fixed. So if we're taking $2 or $3 million a year to pay our debt, it's gonna be a long time before we are doing great. This is not an easy task, paying the debt that somebody else has got us into. But if we want this county to be profitable and be successful again, we're gonna have to take this and we're gonna have to make some hard choices. We can't buy just because that's a good deal. We can't do that. We have to save what we can. We have to pay our debt.
Hey Perry, earlier you said that when you came into office, you would do a whole new audit to all the books, figure out all the finances. Now obviously the county every year has audits that are performed by licensed accountants. You're saying you don't necessarily believe that everything that's in those audits are accurate, which is a pretty big deal. Do you have any specific facts to back that, or any specific reasons why you're confident that these numbers aren't accurate?
Well, it's been alluded to before. When our administration starts taking money from one fund and using it for another fund, and knowing that that is not the way the fund was supposed to be used, and then coming back and going, well, I messed up, I'll fix this. My specifics are this. In 2013, the audit that was given, this administration, current administration, was rebuked because they didn't turn in all the paperwork that should have been turned in to determine the final standing of the audit. Or they reconcile numbers to make a budget or an audit look proper. I believe half of what I see and nothing of what I hear. It needs to be looked at, and it needs to be looked at very carefully. And until then, no, I do not trust the numbers that I'm hearing and that I see, because there's not been any real accounting for money that is spent within these departments or the equipment that we should or should not have.
Any specific transfers within the audit that you can think of that you've seen and said this doesn't seem proper?
No, I don't.
And earlier you had also said that you were a little bit concerned that year after year you're seeing money being poured into different debates or different elections, and you're worried about the money that's being flown in and influencing people in these debates or in these elections. Who specifically, or what specific money are you concerned with is influencing this county?
I won't name names. This isn't a mudslinging night. But I'll say this. When you have the amount of money that is thrown into a county election in the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, you cannot tell me. We all watch the news. Many of us understand history and have seen how things work. With donations of that sort come promises. If you look at the past and look at things that have happened in the past, and this is for the people of this county, they have to investigate and research it themselves. I'm not going to point fingers, but if you look at the past, you can see where money came from, where it went to, and the benefit that was had because of it. When you have businesses in this county that get expansions or special cuts on taxes because of this donation or the donations that are given, you have to wonder why they are getting a special treatment when the rest of this county is not. everybody in this county should be exactly the same and get the same benefit, not just because you're giving this amount of money or that person's giving that amount of money. Because most of us right now can't afford to give anything. That's why I haven't even asked for donations, because the people I'm trying to represent don't have the money. I'm not representing or asking big business, so to speak.
Anything specific where you can see taxpayers have really been cheated as a result of this?
Yeah, I can. You know, Mr. Barron was talking about the farm. You know, we have somebody that is buying property for a very small group of people. We have a project that has gone on up on the mountain. And it's called, right now we're at $70,000+ in fines. You know, why don't you ask these people right here to raise their hand? How many of you, I'll ask, how many of you in this room have been up and walked the Durham Trail since it has been fixed? Okay, look at the amount of money that cost us. And not a single person, excuse me, sorry, get a little passionate in here. Not a single person in this room has used it. Now, is it beautiful? Absolutely, because I personally have went up there, I've walked it, I've looked at the damage, and I've tried to figure out how can I go to the state and work out some deal. You know, communicate with them that, look, we're broke. We can't pay this fine. We can, but it's going to hurt us. But when you have projects like that going on that only benefit a few people, I mean, we got to stand up and say, stop. It's got to stop, because it's hurting everybody in this county.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're going to take a 5-minute break. Let's go to the restroom, regroup, let them get off the stage here. It's very hot. And we'll regroup back here at 7:05.